Hi, I'm Ina, certified business and life coach, founder of Thrive with Ina podcast, and a columnist for Intentional Living magazine. There's always room for improvement in your current situation, whether it's life, business, or relationships. I help women around the world to get equipped with the exact tools that are needed to propel to the next level. On this podcast, you can learn all the encouraging stories of incredible entrepreneurs, their hardships, and the exact tools to achieve success. You can also search for mindful meditation episodes that can help you get grounded in the chaos of life and business. You can get full access to my coaching platform and this podcast on www.thrivewithina.com. And now, tune into a new episode of Thrive with Ina podcast, and happy listening. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Thrive with Ina podcast. I am so excited today to be here with you, welcoming an incredible guest. For those of you who don't follow us yet, my name is Ina and I am the host of Thrive with Ina podcast. And today I have an incredible guest in this room about to tell us her life story and all of the exciting things that she's up to. Welcome, everyone, Jaclyn Weiss. Hi, Jaclyn.
Hey, Ina. I'm so happy to be here. Really excited.
Happy to have you. So before we dive in, a little bit of a bio. Corporate executive in financial crime. Jaclyn saves the day in many, many ways, and she's going to tell you all about that. She's also a mom of 4. I don't know how she does it, but she makes it look very easy. For those of you who have children, I don't. I only have furry babies who actually currently are helping me record. Hello. So, and then also a long list of other things that I like to add a couple from. A leader in wellness network marketing. Jaclyn is going to tell us all about how she got started in an entrepreneurial journey. And also now a blue-collar business owner, which I would also really love to hear about. So without further delay, I'm passing the mic to Jaclyn, a dear friend of mine as well.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I feel like it's exciting to dive into a few topics maybe that, people don't always hear about, but can totally relate to. I know that's something I would really want to hear about. So I'm excited for them.
So exciting. I wanted to get you on the podcast for so long. We've really been working on it and planning on it between your schedule and my schedule. I feel like
months.
Yes, it's been months of trying to plan this podcast time, but I'm so excited we're finally here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a high achieving executive in a financial crime field, which is like so badass if you ask me. I always look at you and I'm like, she's so sweet, but I bet you when she is cracking her whip in that financial crime, people are scared.
Yeah, they definitely see the tall blonde walk in and they don't expect what's coming. And I think that's probably one of the powers I have.
Yes, superpower for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. It's a big job, but it creates a lot of benefit. It does a lot of good in the world. It's more of like the behind the scenes. We're not the door kickers. We're behind the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I always specialized in human trafficking, drug trafficking, and terrorist financing. As of recent, I joined a bank. I came in-house, I went industry, and I joined a bank where now we're more on like the preventative side, which is really nice. We used to be more the reactive. Bad things were found, someone needed to rip them out from under the rug and rebuild the entire process. And that's what, I did for almost 13 years. But now I'm in the industry where I get to really take all that experience and I get to help the banks find a way to prevent financial crime from entering or take a handle of it before it gets, too bad. So I love it. It's really fun. It's nice to dress up too.
Yeah, it's so incredible. It's like it's such a movie plot, or like actually nowadays TV series. Like I'd say
right.
An Apple series or Netflix, like one of the best.
Yeah, they should do that.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. You should definitely write a book and then present it to one of those networks. But how does that transition into being an entrepreneur and creating a wellness network in which you are thriving and making that, I don't want to call it a side income because it is also your, big piece of your income and all of the things that you're involved in. What is the secret? How are you just,
Mhm.
by day saving lives and financial institutions, and then by night and day and whatever else you're doing? Tell us, what's the secret?
Well, I think the secret is don't dip your toe. You got to just jump in. Like, I'm not a toe dipper. I'm an all in kind of person. Scheduling has made a big difference for me. But if you're a corporate individual, you have such an array of skill sets that you really can translate into entrepreneurship because you're a very accountable person. You are probably a good leader, a good listener, you're empathetic. You know how to multitask and multi organize different areas of your life at the same time. So, really, corporate life can lead you up to be an entrepreneur. But I think the biggest piece for me was Charlotte was born, my first, my oldest, and she was 3 months old, and I had to go back to corporate life because my maternity leave was cut short, right? Because I'm not the boss. So I have to listen to the bosses. And that's one of the downfalls, right? Is that you are not ever going to be the top unless you're the CEO. And that's the true pyramid of corporate America. And you also are fully replaceable at any second. And I realized those two things when I was in corporate, when I was young in corporate, when I had Charlotte and I had to go back to work. And then also when a coworker got hit by a taxi and almost died. And we literally dispersed his team to all of us and the wheel kept going. And I thought, wow, like I really am just a number here. Like I have to make sure I'm building something of my own and that I'm not just building someone else's business. So for me, that's when network marketing jumped onto my plate. And I loved that I could really still help people with something they were looking for, but I could also help my family financially on my own time, like on my phone, utilizing social media and just sharing it, right? Sharing products that I really liked and that were helping me and making another impact. So that's how I got into network marketing. I want to say like, yeah, 9, 10 years ago. Charlotte's 10 now. So it's been almost 10 years in the game. The coolest part of that was I really dove into self development and growth, personal growth. And, especially now with how easy it is to listen to like all these incredible podcasts and these business coaches like yourself and life coaches, where you really are getting like all the best tips and tricks at your fingertips on your commute, while you're driving the kids around, while you're cleaning the house. Like, it is just so accessible to us to always be growing and getting better. So, when I was really diving into the world of self development, I thought, this is definitely for me. Like, network marketing might not be the dream, but it's definitely going to be the vehicle to probably get me to my dream.
Yeah.
So it just kept growing from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, with the network marketing that you're involved with, you're also helping people feel better, which is amazing, which is a part of the biggest growing industry right now. Wellness is still one of the leading growing industries, and you helping people feel better with CBD and all of the other healthy supplements and additions to people's daily lives. It's incredible, really, if you think about how much impact you're making in people's lives by just sharing what worked for you.
Yeah. And when you focus on that impact, like you said, like that's the most perfect word. It's not when you focus on impact, you make the biggest change in your life financially. When you're not
Yeah.
thinking of margins or numbers and you're really just like, how many people can I help? I got into Green Compass with botanical wellness, CBD, functional mushrooms, collagen, because actually one of my clients during my consulting years, he did a seminar on emerging markets. He was talking about fintech and Bitcoin. And then he got into hemp farming. And I was like, why is a CEO talking about hemp farming? CBD, what is this? And he was using big words like, this is going to change global health and wellness. This is going to disrupt big pharma. This is
Mhm.
going to be 59 billion by 2025. And here we are. And he was completely right about all those things.
Yeah.
And wild, but 4 years ago, I was at another network marketing company. And I just felt this switch. I was like, no, this is where I need to go. Like, and I actually dove into it from a financial crime perspective. And I started helping banks learn how to bank CBD and hemp companies. And that's how I got my first start in the industry. I got flown all over the United States to help different banks learn what was normal and expected activity and how the banks could be making all this money through these companies. And on a flight home, I'll never forget it. It was Charlotte's birthday. I was flying home for her birthday party, corporate mom running all over the world. And I laughed to myself. I said, I've been telling all these banks that they have to start banking in CBD, and I'm not even invested myself.
Yeah.
So that's when I went on my friend's Instagram. I went to her website. I bought a business kit, and I was like, well, I got to try the products. The business kit was cheaper than buying a bunch of products. So I was like, well, listen, I'm going to probably want to get invested anyway. So I bought a business kit, started taking the products as someone who felt very normal and fine, but I needed to try them myself. Instantly started feeling incredible benefits all over the place, and mentally and physically. And I was like, I see what he's talking about now from a user standpoint.
That's so
Um,
funny.
and you're right. It just feels so good to help people. I joke that that's my happy job because one, it doesn't really feel like a job. It's just
Yeah.
enjoyable to do. And I love getting the messages from people like, I haven't slept in 5 years and I slept the last 5 nights, or the best one, I got 2 months ago. And the mother texts me, you gave me my son back. And he's autistic. He's on the spectrum, really struggling. He struggles. The whole family struggles. And she said, and the changes that she's seen in him, it gives you chills. And I just started crying. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I wanted all the information, and it was just everything about him changed. And, she was like, chemical medication never did anything for him. It just made him worse. And she's
Oh,
like, I have the best version of my son right now. He's 8 and I haven't had this ever. This never existed. And now he's like my other kids with how connected and touchy he is. And he's more verbal now. He's doing better in school. I mean, changing children's lives was something I never expected, and it's definitely the best part of it all. But of
yeah.
course, I like helping the adults and the elderly too. But
Yeah.
there's something about giving kids their power back at that young age, especially as a kid who was on ADD medication at 8 years old, and
Yeah.
how all the side effects that gave me, and the traumas that created. Knowing for my daughter who's 10, she never has to be properly diagnosed. The CBD and the monk mushrooms make her her best self. She's killing it at school, and her teacher's response of how well she's doing solidifies it all. And I'm just like, I could see why this is the future,
Yeah.
taking natural supplements that are good for us, health and wellness from the inside out. It just feels so good. So even if I'm as far as I'm growing into my business journey, I couldn't imagine ever letting go of my network marketing business. It is such a simple model, and to help people is just the most incredible feeling. But
Yeah.
not to say it's always sunshine and rainbows. Business always has its
Yeah.
ebbs and flows, girl.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, because a lot of us struggle. All of us, we all struggle in business ownership. But what makes it, majority of time, what makes it onto social media or content creation is the unicorns and rainbows, right? It's the happy moments. It's the, success stories. It's all of the things that we are proud to share somehow, some way, just like what you and I were talking about before coming on to the podcast, that most of the time failures are not something that people are proud of, and
Hmm.
not something that people share, and not something that people talk about a lot. And that's something that is very important to talk about, because we fail all the time. And how we deal with those failures is very different from entrepreneur to entrepreneur. So tell us about that side of life and business.
Yeah, no one's sharing the 11 p.m., in your office, exhausted after a long day of your 9 to 5 job, and then the kids and the sports and the activities, and then the laundry and the dinner. Life is busy in good ways and in tough ways, and adding something to your plate can almost feel overwhelming. And especially when you're just seeing the highlight reel from every business owner, either or that you're watching, or influencer or coach. It's really in the tough moments that actually make your business the most valuable.
Yeah.
because like, I'll see a lot, oh, the mindset, oh, that's a negative thought. Remove that. Shift your mindset. And it's like, why? Take a moment. When you're sitting in fear, when you've hit a roadblock, when you've failed, whether it was you or someone on your team or a piece of your business, like, don't just rush through it. Don't feel like you have to just scatter it away or hide it. Like, sit in it, feel all the emotions, go through it. Because if you're frustrated and you're pissed off and you're like crushed and sad over this failure, like, good, you care.
Yeah.
Like, you actually care about your business. That's all it means. All it means is that, like, you have a passion that you care about and
Yeah.
that you're pissed off something went wrong. Good. Get pissed.
Yeah.
Slam something, throw it, get pissed, live in the emotion, feel that energy because that's your power. And then use that stress, because whatever brings you usually stress or triggers your anxiousness a bit. Those are things that you care about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be stressed or anxious about it. You wouldn't be in that failure. So acknowledge it, like, bring it in, and don't just like wipe it away. Don't just be like, oh, I need a mindset change. I need to listen to a podcast. But yeah, you probably do, but you need to first figure out, like, what about your failure that you want to collect, and start collecting them all and
Yeah.
start looking at it and saying, okay, this is what I wouldn't do again. This is what was working. Let's reassess. Where are we in the market? What are we trying to achieve? What's our end game here? How can we reassess? Every single owner of a business, whether it is network marketing or whether it is like a traditional business model, no matter what, there are failures. Network marketing, you get ghosted, you get no's. They're not no's to you. And the second you can respond to that properly, like, okay, no worries. I'm here when you're ready. I can't force you to buy it. I can't force you to take it, nor do I want to. I don't want to force no one.
Yeah.
I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah.
Great. Next, you know what? I have 5 buckets I want to fill, five people I want to help this month. All right, whoever's going to be the lucky ones to fall into those buckets, I'm excited for you. But I
Yeah.
don't know who those people are yet. It's like taking the fear or the failure that you feel is a failure and reassessing what matters. And then the same thing in business. It's, talking to people. Like, if you feel lonely in your failures, go to a networking event.
Mm-hmm.
Sit at a table, no matter what, if you are brand new as a business owner or if you are tenured, sit at a table and just listen. Ask questions. I'm the biggest listener. I am the least talker unless someone's asking me directed questions. But, I mean, you and I know this. The loudest person in the room talking about themselves, boasting about themselves the most is usually bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last table you want to sit at.
Yeah.
You want to sit at a table where there's a full conversation going around, where you can ask a directed question and someone's going to give you an honest, true result, right? Where they're going to get in the nitty gritty with you. And then even saying to someone like, well, who do you know that I should know?
Mm-hmm.
Taking what you feel as a failure or a fear or a roadblock and sitting in it for a minute, it gives you all these opportunities to say, well, like, what matters to me and what do I need then to fail forward? Like, what do I need to turn this into a success or to restart? I think networking is the biggest thing people could do. I think following people on social media that like bring them joy and happiness,
Yeah.
not comparison,
Yeah.
or, if someone's always showing the fluffy, likely there's a lot of behind the scenes behind that. Like, you know, to unfollow, mute accordingly, and focus
Mute
on like people.
accordingly.
Oh,
I'm going to use that and I'm going to quote you.
mute accordingly. I mute a lot of people
Yeah.
and I unfollow people. It's Social media is not for your friends and family. It's not. It's not. It's for growth. It's for knowledge. It's for education. It's for sharing. It's for business. It's for sales. It is. If I didn't have a business of my own, I would never be on social
Oh
media,
my God, so much so.
ever,
Me too.
ever. It would be so rare that I went on, maybe for likes, because I'm following someone who does sourdough, or like, you know what I mean? It would be
Yes.
so rare. It would be so rare.
Yeah.
It's like social media has completely evolved. And I think also the aspect of, like, you hit a certain age where you just truly stop caring what people think. And I'm talking about all people, like not like you don't have to like 100% about one person. There's always going to be things that you don't like about every single person. Doesn't mean you don't love them, doesn't mean you don't respect them. And like I'm reading the Let Them theory from Mel Robbins,
Me
which is so
too.
good. Ah, we have to talk about this.
So good.
She did a chapter where she talked about this, where she was like, there are things I don't like about my kids and my husband, but
Yeah.
I love them. And that's the truth. It's the truth about all of it. We can't control what other people think in their head. Like other people can't even control what they think in their head.
That's true.
Why am I worried about what they think? Like
Yeah.
why do I think I can control that by not posting something
Yeah.
or sitting in my fear of, well, what are they going to think? I did a whole Let Them theory network marketing reel on this because it's the truth. You will freeze and paralyze in fear out of a story that you're telling yourself about what someone else is thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and then you won't even post it. And what a dishonor to yourself and to the person who on the other side who actually needed you to post that, who actually needed to hear that frustration that you had, or that idea, or had that product that could help them with their lack of focus or their frustration when their kids are going crazy and they're like, I just want to stop screaming as a mom. You have
Yeah.
something for that? Yeah, girl, I do. If I don't share that though, no one's going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
And it's like you hit this moment in life where you're just like the realization that you are the only one you can control
Mhm.
is like freeing in a way.
Yeah.
And it allows you to show up like authentically yourself in your fear with all your roadblocks, and you get to like live in it for a little bit, and then you get to take the pieces of it that you want to continue with and you get to discard the rest, and then you get to change the mindset, listen to a exciting podcast, go to someone that you follow on social media that makes you feel good, right? Then you get to work through it and you're like, okay, my next step, what's my next step? But until like you acknowledge all the fears that you have and the stresses, I mean, you're never going to move forward. I would have never started my blue collar business. I would have never jumped into that if I had all this fear. And I had a moment where I was paralyzed for a month with it because of what someone said and what they thought. And I almost stopped the business because of it.
Ooh. Let's unpack that for a minute. So,
Oh gosh.
so, um, I don't know how, like, when do you sleep? And I know people say that to me all the time, and I'm like, I don't have children. I have plenty of time to sleep and whatever, have a corporate job and businesses and podcasts and whatever. But like, you do all of that and you have 4 children on top of it too. And you have a wonderful partner that,
Yes.
is present and is there, and which is really something to be, said and mentioned, that even when you have a wonderful partner, your life is still so full and so busy, and you just keep adding the next layer, adding a next layer, another layer to your businesses and your life. So, what's the superpower?
The superpower is scheduling
Uh huh.
and being proactive. That's it. For instance, if I have a 7 a.m. meeting in the morning, I am putting the plates out on the table the night before. I'm getting the waters ready for school, the lunch is ready the night before. It's that preparation makes everything possible. You're just foresee as much as you can ahead, prepare it, and then be open to what might ebb and flow unexpectedly, and try to be able to check yourself through it. But at the same time, like I don't get everything done every single day, like that's also not realistic. Like I go for a B minus every day. I go for a B minus. It's enough to get me through. It's enough to be successful, and it's enough to make a difference. And I tell my kids that with school. I don't want them to be A students. I don't want them to do the math the way that they're teaching them to do the math. I want them to do the math at their way that their brain works. And if that's okay, if you get, a couple of things wrong on a test because you didn't do the way they told you to do, I don't care. Go for a B minus. You get a B minus. We are jumping and dancing in the kitchen. You get a C. We got some things to work on, and you're going to have to make sure you go read a couple chapters in your book, and then you're going to have to figure it out. But I mean, you get an A. Great. great. This is incredible. B minus. So I go for the same thing in my life that I ask for my kids. That reel that I'm putting out, I'm not doing it 10, 20 times. Who has time for that? I'm doing it max 2 times. And the best at it too is getting posted. You know why? Because duplication is the reality of it all. And
Yeah.
I'm not looking for perfection. I don't want to be around women who are looking for perfection. You're going to fail every time if you look for perfection.
Yeah.
You are your worst critic and your best critic at the same time. And it's whichever one you're leaning into in that moment. That could be like a hormonal shift based on the time of month it is, that which way you go.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be focusing on perfection, you're going to fail most times. So it's like, for me, I go for a B minus in everything. My kids would say that they don't want that in the cooking aspect, but luckily my husband cooks a lot. But he is a great partner. I mean, the biggest choice you can make in life is who your partner is, right? That's the best and most important choice you make. And from there, you guys can grow together, and you could always ebb and flow and make things work. And therapy is great if people need that. And just because you married someone, you're like, oh my gosh, was he the best choice? Well, you can make each other the best choice. You can find ways to work together, right? And it's like, I also hold him to a very high standard. Like
Oh
when
wow. So B minus for the whole family, but not David?
no, when it comes to our relationship, we have to go for the A plus in that. We have to, right? Because that's different, like in relationships, that's different. In
I
relationships,
know.
I probably give more than I should. I know, I love you. But you're right. Like him and we have to hold each other to a high standard. If he's coming in and he's exhausted from work, that's when like I got to kick it up. And if he's got 30, I got to pull in the 70.
Mhm.
I can't be like, oh, well, me too. I guess no one's eating tonight. It's like we have to find a way to make it work. But, understanding each other, that communication is huge. But like, when we had kids, there was no chance that he wasn't doing half the daddy duties that I was doing as a mom. Like, of course there's certain things I have to do because, I'm the female in the situation, but he's gonna do it as many diapers, he's gonna do laundry, he's gonna be a part of it. And then as we grow through our life, that's where you find, okay, these are my chores, these are your chores, break, and you find that flow. So when it comes to having a partner, that's huge because he helps me, whether I have a phone call for Green Compass and I'm helping someone find out what products are going to be best for them, or if I have a business call for Project Shred It and I'm, this is the next fashion house that we have to go to get the textiles, making sure I'm setting up those calls. Like he knows that this is all for our family anyway. And like speaking of my 4 kids, I involve them in everything. They are in it all with me. They come into my office. I mean, the amount of gift bags they've created for Green Compass customers. Charlotte has done a bunch of chat GPT stuff for me when it comes to different prompts and things like that. She's done a bunch of Canva for me, and I pay her. I pay her from the business, and I'm teaching them about financial literacy, which is something I did not grow up having. So
Wow.
I love that. Like, when you think like, oh, I have, someone's thinking to themselves, yeah, I have a 9 to 5. I would like to have an additional business, but I also have kids and we have all the activities. It's like none of these things are separate. Yeah, the 9 to 5 is a little separate, but where I can take my lunch break early to have a podcast session with you, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to block my schedule. This is my lunch break and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's with the Green Compass, my kids are involved. My kids are running around in the background when I'm on a phone call because that's the life I have. I don't need to be, running away to make phone calls all the time. No, I expect the person on the other line to have their kids running in the background too. B minus, right? We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for human connection. And that's really the gist of it. So like I bring my kids in, they are not expected to be separate. They come along for the ride sometime. They've seen the facility. They know like this is what pays for this beautiful home that you live in. This is what pays for all that good, healthy, organic food on the counter. And this is what brings us onto those family trips because we're a family of 6 and that gets expensive real fast. And we go on a trip every single month throughout the year. We travel 10 months out of the year.
Mm.
So like we have a lot of big trips and then we do some smaller trips, but we're always having adventures and experiences together.
Mhm.
Business follows us and we know when it's time to be present and put the phone down. And we know when, we have to make the business calls. And when the kids are around, I'm like, hey, Charlotte's like, Mom, you want to go throw the lacrosse ball with me outside for a little bit. And I'll look at the clock and be like, well, in 10 minutes, I have a phone call. But if you want to go read now for 30 minutes, by the time my phone call's done, we can go outside. And she doesn't get upset. She's like, oh, okay, which business? I'm like, oh, it's Green Compass. She's like, oh, okay, cool. We'll talk about it outside.
Yeah.
Because she's involved in my business, she doesn't get disappointed if I'm on the phone or I can't go do something right away
Yeah.
because they're in it with us. I think that's
Communication
the
is so
secret.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, don't separate things in your life. It's all a part of the same circle. Involve it all. How can you schedule it all in that, it doesn't have to be separate. Like we're in the car, I have an Ed Milet podcast on, I have you on, I have Jess on. My kids get to listen to that and they take pieces from it. They're like, what was it the other day that, so and so said about? And I'm like, you heard that? They're always listening, so it's like I have a phone call. It's like, oh, I have a 30-minute car ride with the kids. You have 10 minutes during that. Yeah, I do. Great. The kids are like, oh, mom's on a call. And then after that, it's the music goes up and we're dancing. It's like finding your flow in
Mhm.
it is the key
Yeah.
because it's going to be different for everyone. There is no one secret sauce. It's what is your secret sauce? What is your flow? But don't separate them. Like
Yeah.
bring them all together.
Yeah. I think that's important to have your family understanding what it is that you do and being a part of it so they don't feel like they're on the outside or the job is more important or the job takes priority when you're in the car with the kids or when you're supposed to be having family time or whatnot. It's being flexible and adaptable, the fluidity, making the fluidity work for you, because being an entrepreneur or juggling entrepreneurship and a corporate job and business, blue collar business that you just mentioned, all of it can be overwhelming if you don't know how to communicate to people around you about the importance of everything being connected, which is what you're doing. And it's so funny how you're like mentioning that you're preparing the night before and you have a structure and you have a set schedule and you have all that. I'm like, that is so German because my fiance does the same thing. He's like always prepared no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, you
amazing
see
to
it.
me how like that structure, that cultural background just comes through and you're like, I'm prepared.
Yeah. I'm gonna prepare as best I can. It's so true. And it's funny because I think about it, my mom and my dad were that way. My
Yeah.
Oma was that way. It's prepare for what you can and be flexible for what you can't see,
Yeah.
and then you're at least halfway through the battle. Like we're going away on Saturday. And I thought, all right, I have to do, XYZ, all of these things. I'm gonna start now. I'm gonna, I run through my brain. Well, what needs to be done early? What can wait till the night before? And it creates, because otherwise I'd be like, oh, I can't have any business meetings. I can't work. No, like all life is happening.
Yeah.
So you have to find the way to ebb and flow it in. And you do it with a little bit of grace, a lot of humor, and you throw the music on and you're just like, well, we're going to just make it happen.
I love that. I love that. You're just, such an inspiration to so many people and
Thank you.
all of the endeavors. And how are you planning to grow? So I know since we've just discovered you're a planner, so there's got to be a plan somewhere there. And if you don't
Oh,
want
yeah.
to share like all of the details, obviously you don't have to, but what is the plan for continued growth? How do you see yourself growing and your business is growing? And what do you think that's going to bring even more adventure into your life, since your family loves to travel and all the things? So like tell us what's happening.
So 2024, well, 2023 into 2024, I removed a lot of toxicity from my life. That
Mm-hmm.
was people, and I also cut out alcohol. And those two things changed everything for me. Removing toxicity in any of the ways you can do it is the best way to plan for growth, because you have to cut the dead weight. You have to cut what doesn't serve you anymore. I was postpartum with Jack, and it was December. It was all the holiday parties. So much, it wasn't even that much booze. It was just like consistently drinking. And I was just like, ugh, I don't want this anymore. Like this isn't holding me back. I feel gross.
Yeah.
And I just was like, day by day, like, I don't need it. Went away on a vacation with the girls trip for the Green Compass, got sent away on a trip, especially when you're like, oh, I'm on a trip. I want to drink. I was like, let's see if I can go through the trip. Nothing. And then I just kept going. And now I'm over 2 years, no booze. And I feel like that was a huge thing for me. And my booze might be something for someone else, right? It's like, what is that thing that is in your life that might be hidden a little bit that you just are like, that's not serving me anymore. It might be a relationship. It might be a bad habit, or it might be something that you're not doing, and then, so I think that's like the first and foremost. If you want to grow, you need to cut what is holding you back from that growth.
Mhm.
And then I love to plan. I love to look ahead. There's this like one amazing meditation where it sets you up to look like 5 years in the future.
Mm.
And, it asks you to like start your day, right? And like I wrote this all down in my journal from the moment I opened my eyes to, that later that evening. And that's the process that I want to work towards, right? Like that vision I have for me and my family, that's what I'm working towards. So when you are in the crux of it, and you can get back to your why. And if it's your kids or yourself, I mean, you're going to hustle for it, right?
Yeah.
So my plans for growth are to continue on the path that I'm on now, because I found a really good sweet spot for me between, scheduling is huge, finding all that different areas in my life. And growth is growing my shredding company to 5 fashion houses that are no longer polluting our earth with their textiles, but are now fully in recycle mode, where we can say we are 100% recycling X tons of textile waste, which is something dear to me as someone who lives on the ocean, who has grown up surfing and boating and is the treasurer of Surfrider Long Island. Like for me, I've always thought I wanted to do more with Mother Earth and do better. So this just came to be in a certain light based on a huge need. And we jumped right in, and it's been an incredible situation so far. And I can't wait to share more about it once we like really hit some huge milestones. So keeping that growing, which takes a lot of personal accountability because it's just me. I'm a woman owned, woman run business in a man's blue collar world.
Yeah.
So a lot of education, a lot of growth is needed, but I want to network more this year. I want to connect with new people in industries that, I don't necessarily know anything about, and feeling like this really good confidence to say, "Oh, I don't really know anything. Like I'd love for you to tell me more." Because there's like this power in being honest about being vulnerable and about being new. And you can only be new when you're new. So you might as well utilize it in the beginning
I know.
and be coachable and be open to like absorbing all the information. Like I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the person who knows it all in the room. Otherwise, I'm the problem with the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be in the room where I'm growing with so many different people. So networking is definitely a big part of my growth this year. Putting myself out there to have the conversations, and that will ultimately just make my impact so much greater.
Yeah.
And from there, I mean, everyone gets to benefit.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that word impact that we've brought through our conversation, because that's really what we're here for. When you're intentional with what you do, the impact is so much greater, right? And
It feels so good.
yeah,
Like
and
you're so much more aligned.
yeah, the intentional business ownership is, I
Mhm.
think, the future. Yeah.
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 Yeah. People can smell out the fake and the phony
I
pretty
love
quick.
that you're using smell out. I just pictured my dog in the backyard smelling out.
No, they know. Dogs
You
know.
know, dogs do know, and boy, do
Dogs,
they know.
yep, dogs
I
know.
love that.
Take a
On
cue
that,
from that book.
yeah, on that note, can we tell our listeners how they can follow you and support your journey, and learn about all of the things that you are doing and the benefits of the products that you sell?
Yes, absolutely. And I would love to connect with more people and be a part of each other's success and cheering each other on. So on LinkedIn, I'm Jaclyn Teresa Weiss. Weiss is my last name. And on LinkedIn, I'm at the Jack journey. It's that the JAC journey.
Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Those are the
Awesome.
best places I'd say to find me. LinkedIn and Instagram. They're my more two common social platforms.
Awesome. Awesome. So I will link all of those things in the show notes as well. So it's easy for people to click and just follow you and watch your journey and all of the exciting things that you're up to. Again, thank you so much for coming on to Thrive with Ina podcast. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thanks,
And
babe. I appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions or wants to call out certain things, I'd love for you to reach out. I think that's the best part of this is like then the collaboration and the conversation that comes. And I'm an open book. I'm happy to share any and all trials, tribulations, successes, ideas. I think that's the best part, especially about women supporting women. We need to keep that excitement going.
absolutely. And I love that about us. Yay. Well, thank you all so much and have a great day.
Yes.
Bye. Woo! That was